Hi everyone, it's Eva Benmeleh from Dr. Eva Therapy. Today we're going to talk about my Greek background. No, I'm just kidding. But I love this shirt. It says, "I'm not yelling, I'm Greek." And I bought it because I really wanted a tribute to my father's side, the Greek and Turkish background, but also because it's really humorous how we will come up with any excuse under the sun to justify why we lose our shit and why we end up yelling. And I can't think of a better time than right now, where as parents, we are running off of steam with the end of summer. Some of us are getting acclimated or trying to acclimate to all of the changes in schedules. Again, with the end of camp, for those kids who've gone to camp, trying to figure out how we can get the kids to go back to bed at some decent hour and start waking up at a decent hour if your children slept in. And we are struggling to find the perfectly colored notebooks that the wonderful teachers are requesting of us and the folders to match, along with dealing with life, of work, of relationships, of health, and everything going on, and the stress that we're hearing on the daily with regards to COVID. So August is a summer month, but it's not a vacation, relaxed month, at least from my end and from what I'm hearing from many others. And if you can agree, then I commiserate with you. But the point of this little video today is not to talk about how we can commiserate with the extra stressors that we're feeling as we prepare for another school year, with all of the extra unknowns beyond who and what teacher and things like that our children will be having. But it is to figure out a way that we can step aside from the justification of yelling. Because we will always have an excuse, right? I mean, the other day I was talking to a friend of mine who went to the supermarket, forgot a bag of produce, realized it when he came home, drove back to the supermarket, and proceeded to yell at the cash register because she should have stopped him from leaving the supermarket and given him his stuff. Yeah, maybe she could have, but so she didn't. But that doesn't merit her getting yelled at by my friend. But, he felt entitled to at that moment because, if it was him, he would have stopped her and he would have said, "Hey, here's your bag." Or for us, for us meaning as moms, when we're repeating ourselves for the upteenth time, "Please sit still. Stop hitting your brother. Stop hitting your sister. Did you do your homework for the upcoming school year?" I don't know. All the things that we do that we end up yelling at our children for not listening to us. Or when it's, and please don't get mad at me, and this is somewhat controversial, but nevertheless such a reality, when we're at our time of the month and our hormones are out of whack, for those of us who don't have our hormones completely in check and in order, that we become these raging, and it's really hard to tell how much of what we're feeling is a heightened sense of reality or it is reality. And many times we react as such because we think it's so real and it's so true and we're reactive. So what do? Because we can either go from one extreme of, listen, I'm Greek, it's the end of the summer, I have to buy school supplies and find orange notebooks that no longer exist in any store here in South Florida. And so I'm allowed to have my temper tantrum as an adult and yell because it is my right to release and vent out my steam. To, I'm this terrible mom, terrible human being for dumping and venting all of my anger and frustration out to the poor children of mine who are these innocent bystanders, and it's not their fault that we can't find orange notebooks. And I will never yell again. So we can't be either extreme, because part of the yelling is part of who we are, and it's part of how we're trying to cope with situations when we feel frustrated, out of control, unheard, not listened to, ignored, and all of this stuff comes from way back, right? And it comes right here and smacks us in the face in the present moment. And typically we do take it out on our children because it's what happened. I don't want to get into all the reasons for why. And it's not right. And neither extreme really makes sense. We can't become this justifiable excuser for our bad behavior, and then just constantly apologize. Like, yeah, I'm sorry I yelled at you for the past 10 minutes. I promise it'll never happen again, which maybe most probably is not true. Or, I'm sorry I yelled at you, but you deserve it because you didn't listen to me, which then really isn't an apology. It's a backhanded slap in the face of you deserve it, so leaving the child so confused and feeling even more upset because now they feel guilty, and more guilty maybe. 2, I'm this terrible human being. How could I yell? Nobody does this. I'm going to cause psychological harm, and what's going to become of my children, and I can't ever do this again. So neither of those extremes work, because I'm not saying that yelling is good or bad. It's not, obviously, because we are releasing so much. Sometimes we need to figure out ways that are better than yelling. Yelling constantly to our children and berating them is considered verbal abuse and psychological and emotional when we don't have the ability and the tools to keep our cool. So I'm not condoning yelling, but at the same time, I'm definitely not condoning putting ourselves down and feeling like these terrible human beings because we lose it sometimes. So what do? How can we come to some kind of a middle ground? The first part is having the awareness. Okay, you know what? This week is super stressful. You guys are home, or you're coming back from camp, or I have a million work things going on, changes, or whatever it is that's causing the extra layer of stress. I'm going to be aware that my level of tolerance and my level of patience will be a lot less this time around than perhaps another time around, because we're not robots and we're not always at the same level of patience and tolerance. Having that awareness can set us up, not in the way of, okay, I'm predicting problems, but I'm understanding where I'm at so I can have some compassion for myself when I'm starting to feel like I'm going to lose it, and I'm starting to feel the sense of overwhelm, like, man, this is a lot. Because when we're able to understand and to analyze, like, we're going through a lot right now, then that feeling of not being heard, not being taken into consideration would subside just a little bit, because we understand that it's not the child's fault that we're yelling at them for something. It's our way of expressing a lot of frustration that can come up. I hope that makes sense. The other piece of it is feeling like we're this terrible human being just pushes us down, and it doesn't help us get to another place of, okay, well, how can I do this better? Which is why being in awareness helps. Now, when you are in awareness of this time around is going to be difficult, it also opens up your mind to think, well, what can I do about it? Who can I call for help? Is there someone I can call for help? What can I do within me to help me get grounded and centered so that I'm not losing it later on? Do I need to cry for a minute? Do I need to take deep breaths, but not heaving of deep breaths, but actually calming and slowing and down types of deep breaths? Do I need to call a friend? Do I need to just sit or listen to music or watch a funny video or watch something nice with my kids or get a hug? You know, whatever it is that we feel like we need, can we go and do that versus reaching to this tipping point of, I can handle it, everything's fine, I can do it, no problem, keep adding more and more and more onto my plate, and I'm going to continue like nothing's happening until we explode. So it doesn't have to be like that, essentially, and it's learning from these experiences over and over and over again so that we yell less and less, because it is about the yelling, but it's not so much about the yelling. It's what we're doing all the while before we end up yelling. So let me know what you think. I hope you guys have a wonderful last few weeks of summer. Take care, good luck, and much success in the first weeks of school. Hang in there, and I will see you guys all next time. Take care. Bye.